Our next speaker, Marisa Tornabene. She is a trainer at Apple. Welcome, Marisa.
Hello, thank you so much. It is great to be back in Ohio from New York. I've missed it, and I'm very excited to be with all of you this afternoon. In fact, I have a question for you. What do you want to be when you grow up? Well, when I was 6, and obviously toothless, I would have told you that I was going to move to New York, become a big Broadway star, marry a husband, and have 12 kids. Can you imagine that toothless kid saying that to you? Yeah. It was my preschool production of The Alphabet where my love of being on stage started. I played the letter P, and I had one line. I said, "P is for pear, they are so tasty." And then I took a pretend bite out of the pear. My preschool teacher told me I was the best letter P she had ever had in the production. I was sold. I then spent my summers growing up in the Little Theater's Children's Workshops productions. I also sang at area churches and nursing homes. Basically, anywhere I was asked to sing, I sang. And then when it came time to apply to college, I knew that 1, I was going to major in music, and 2, music was going to help me get a scholarship to help me pay to go away to college. Now, when I went away to college, I started to struggle a little bit in some of my music classes. What once had been so easy for me was starting to become a little bit more difficult. So much so that a few of my music professors started to question if I was even musical enough to be there. But I knew I was. And I knew that because I remembered a quote from a really good witch who likes to travel by bubble, Glinda. She says, "You always had the power, my dear. You just had to learn it for yourself." So after I graduated, I went to Kent State University. And at Kent State, I was a full-time student. I was commuting. I was also working part-time at Express. And in that first semester, I was in not 1, but 2 opera productions. If you saw me walking the halls at the main campus, I looked a lot like this. When I was there at Kent, I had a voice lesson with one of my teachers from Ashland, and she told me, "Hey, you're going to go to New York City, and you're going to audition for this school called AMDA, the American Music and Dramatic Academy. And that's where you're going to go to school, and it's going to help you figure out this acting thing and do all of these amazing things and really help you on your path of this career." I was like, awesome, let's do this. My parents, on the other hand, were a little weary about letting me move to the big city, but I knew I could do it because Glinda was right. I had that power all along, that it was up to me to make my dreams come true. So I used 1 whole paycheck from Express, bought my plane ticket, called up an old friend and said, "Hey, can I sleep on your couch this weekend? I have an audition." And she said, "Sure, come on over." And so I went. The morning of my audition was complete chaos because I had never really been on the subway before and totally got lost and very turned around. But I made it to the school, I made it to my audition, I had the audition, and when I went back into the holding room, the first person I called was my grandma Vera, and I said, "Grandma, I think I'm gonna get in." And I did. And that June, I moved to New York. And I felt like I was living a dream. I was working with all of these amazing award-winning teachers and actors and singers. I was singing and acting every day, and I was sort of dancing in my dance classes. In fact, one day in one of my classes, one of my teachers, he was a Tony Award-winning director, was so moved by my performance that he cried. And let me tell you something, I walked out of there like I had just won a Tony. I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want to do. And then just like that, AMDA was over. And I was sitting the next day after graduation at my survival job at my desk when I got a message from one of my professors, and he was asking me if I wanted to be in his off-Broadway musical. And I thought, me? Her? And so I agreed, but that's when a lot of my anxiety started. I started to feel like, am I even good enough to be in this room? And from there, I got recognized by an agency and signed with them. I started booking work in commercials. I was the food saver girl, so if you're ever watching that at 3 a.m., you might see me. I was also then in Ocean's 8 as a featured extra. And when I was there, I remember thinking, great, I've got this thing that I've just accomplished. I can post about it on all of my social media accounts, and it's going to show everyone that I deserve to be here and that I am on my way to make this dream come true. When actually deep down, I felt so out of place, and I felt like I did not deserve to be there, that it was time to move on and change. And so I did. I packed up all of my stuff, and I decided to head here, back home, to find that change. And do you know where I found myself? Right back on stage. Started acting again and singing, and I actually was able to dance a little bit in this show, surprisingly. And with that came this new confidence and a new drive that I hadn't seen in quite some time. Something that I had been missing since, well, I was in preschool playing the letter P. And I thought to myself, I can do this. I have the power. I can move back to New York City and make all of my dreams come true. So I did. Packed up my car again, and I moved to New York City. Also, I took this while I was driving. Please do not take pictures while you're driving. It's totally unsafe. Don't do that. But I moved back to New York City, the beautiful, crazy place it is. But then COVID hit about 6 months later, and the city went from this to this. I had friends who were out on tours and acquaintances on Broadway who were getting ready for their show in their dressing room that night when it was announced that their shows were now canceled indefinitely due to COVID. They were obviously devastated, and I was devastated for them. But for myself, I felt this sigh of relief. Like, great, I can breathe. I don't have to get out there and audition and try to prove myself to everyone out there that this is what I am, this is what I want to do, that my dream is not gone, when in reality, I was not that person anymore. I didn't have the urge to get out there, and instead I had a lot of anxiety just thinking about it. And so I felt like a very big failure and wasn't quite sure where to go from here. Because all I kept saying to myself was, great, I failed my childhood dream. I failed little me. But then I remembered something from a very, very wise woman named Oprah, who has said there is no such thing as failure. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction. That took me a while to grasp, especially that word failure. I could understand my life finally moving in a new direction. In fact, I was seeing it for myself. I had spent 10 years in the craziest city in the country. I had moved there. I had accomplished so much, music degrees, singing on various stages, but I still felt like I had failed. So I had to think about this in a different way. So I thought about it as if I was talking to my best friend. And we know we always give the best advice to our best friends, right? And I thought to myself, if this was my best friend trying to force herself to go on a date with someone she didn't want to go on, or stay in a job that was not making her happy, it was actually making her miserable, or she was trying to wear a really cute pair of shoes that pinched her little toe, what would I tell her? Well, first off, I would be like, we're going to cancel the date. We're also going to then work on updating your LinkedIn. And then we're going to go shoe shopping to find you an even cuter pair of shoes that don't pinch your little toe. So I decided to take that advice for myself. And in doing so, I learned a lot. I struggled a lot with trying to understand failure. It was a very hard thing for me to master. I kept telling myself, okay, I just failed something, so a new direction must be around the corner, and I'm going to see it, and I'm going to understand why this happened. But that failure part stung. No matter how Oprah decided to box it up for me, it still stung. So, with the help of some amazing self-help books and a new therapist, I learned the truth about failure. Failure comes from what we think others expect from us, not actually being bad at something. Here I was, accomplished, on a new direction, but not actually had failed something because I had tried it. I knew that I loved to sing. To me, singing is still this life-giving energy that I just will never be able to live without. But what I can't do anymore is go to an audition and audition for a role against 100 other women who look exactly like me. So I decided then and there that I was going to stop doing that. And I was going to sing for me. And now I do. I sing for wedding ceremonies, I sing at church services when I'm asked, I even sing in a choir now. And because of that, I have taken on new career opportunities, and I have developed so far into my tech job that, little me would never have even believed that I would be in technology because I couldn't turn on a computer growing up. But I did it. And I did it because I allowed myself to go on this new direction. And I did it because I knew my power, and I was fulfilled in that power. And now I can say that I'm happy. And I'm happy in what I'm doing. And if I was to be asked by her what I want to be when I grow up, I would say proud. Proud that I had the courage to move away, to go to New York City, because in leaving home, I was able to grow and find myself. And that there is nothing I would trade that for at all in this lifetime. So I want to leave you with this. If you feel like it's time to move on from something, go. Because that's when you're going to really learn and grow. Because you're going to make mistakes and you're going to fail along that way. But that's where you're going to become the person you are destined to become. Because on the other side of that, if you stay, you're settling to be ordinary. And you, my friends, are not ordinary. You are our future leaders. So make a promise to yourself or your younger, toothless self that you are going to continue to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And when you feel like you have nothing left to give, remember you have the power. You've had it all along. Thank you.